Paul, don't give way. Sweeney.
What needs to happen to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza is fairly self-evident, but unfortunately intractably difficult to achieve. But there are steps that the UK government can take to help. It requires the UK government to take the long overdue action that it knows is required to improve the humanitarian situation. There are three main things that the UK could do. To demand an end to the blockade, a 11-year blockade of Gaza. Not only is this illegal under international law, as been mentioned in contravention of the Geneva Convention on Human Rights, it is preventing the rebuilding of infrastructure, hospitals, schools, the electricity supply and sewerage systems. Indeed, the GDP in Gaza has halved in recent years. It is highly restrictive to the work of local and international humanitarian organisations, not to mention the local economy and ability of Gazans to support themselves. And indeed, we've seen humanitarian development organisations extremely limited when it comes to providing support that basic supplies such as building materials for shelter, medical supplies, something that undermines the ability to undertake a sustainable approach to development assistance. The restrictions need to be lifted, and until they are, I hope the government will urge the Israeli authorities to go much further in easing them. Secondly, the UK government needs to review its defence sales relationship with Israel. In response to a written question that I tabled earlier this month, the Minister responded that the government has been keeping the situation in Israel under review. We have no information to suggest that UK-supplied equipment has been used in contravention of the consolidated EU and national arms export licensing criteria. However, since a review by the government found that the UK has issued 12 licences for defence equipment it believed were likely to have been used in the 2014 war, and equipment sales have been continued unabated since, serious questions remain as to whether the UK-made weapons supplied to Israel were used by that government during recent violence in Gaza. Indeed, there needs to be a full investigation into whether any UK arms were used in the horrific violence we have seen in Gaza over recent months. Thirdly, we must push once again for an independent investigation by the United Nations or the International Criminal Court into Israel's use of live ammunition against civilians in Gaza, particularly during the recent protests for the Palestinian right to return. We know that the only sustainable future to 70 years of intractable conflict is a comprehensive peace deal based on a two-state solution, a secure Israel alongside a secure and viable Palestine. Sadly, that vision...
And calling the